what James is thinking?
Ah, the height of sophistication. Deep blackcurrant fruit, cigar box scent.
Stop!
and-
This is too poncy. Now, I enjoy a glass of wine, but I've never had much time for talking about wine. But one day, I met a man in a pub who said he could educate me in the ways of the grape. That's him.
Right, right.
Oz Clark, wine expert.
What's the first thing that comes into your mind about that wine? Fruit.
We've come to France for a month. My mission? To open his mind as well as his mouth.
Rustic, old-fashioned French wines. What is that?
That's
You
my
don't-
oscillator. That means you're talking rubbish. So far, he's had me sniffing cow poo and bathing with him in grape juice. I'm so unhappy, you've got no idea.
Actually, I've been teaching James how to talk about wine
Trebor fruit salad.
and even how to make his own wine.
Yes!
But how will he rise to this week's challenge to find the perfect wine to go with a very special meal?
What is spam?
Spam is a high-quality meat product.
On this part of our trip, I want to teach James about how to match wine with food. I'm going to take him through the menu from starter to main course to dessert, finding out which wines go best with each. And he'd better concentrate on what we're doing for once, because later on I'm going to be throwing him a new challenge, cooking a meal and finding the perfect wine to go with it.
This is a local white, I think.
Our big wine adventure is taking us through the south, enjoying the stunning scenery on the road to Provence. This area produces more wine than anywhere else in France, and a young breed of winemakers are using new world techniques, borrowed from places like Australia, to produce wine with mass market appeal. One of them will be our guide for the next couple of days. Meet Jean-Claude Masse.
Morning, monsieur. Jean-Claude?
Jean-Claude.
Bonjour.
Very nice to meet you.
James Oz Clark.
Hi, Jean-Claude, how are you? Jean-Claude is best known for a wine called Arrogant Frog, although he seemed quite a nice bloke to us. He's brought along some local white wines for us to try with something slimy and ugly, tasting of seawater and iodine. Oysters.
So today, basically, I've prepared a small program to show you a bit around of what we have here in this region of south of France. We'll have a look at the oysters. We'll see what they do with oysters, how they grow them, you know, on these parks here.
Just southwest of Montpellier, this lagoon produces over 12,000 tons of oysters a year. I've chosen them as the first part of our menu because they are notoriously difficult to match with wine.
No, oysters are a seafood, so you have to have them with white wine. Any idiot knows that.
Standing like General Montgomery.
No, I'm trying to look British.
Tiny baby oysters, smaller than a 5p piece, are taken out to these oyster tables, put in mesh bags, and left in the salt water of the lagoon for a couple of months. The water's really green looking, full of fruit, plankton and seaweed, that sort of stuff. That's what oysters eat. Then they're brought back to shore and cemented to these long ropes in sets of 3.
Aren't we supposed to be going over there?
Each oyster farmer has his own set of tables, and his ropes of oysters are suspended in the water and left for a year to grow to maturity.
Fascinating. Now, where's my lunch? Off. I am ashore. Mind your tete. I mean, look, you see, there you go. They've got Oz doing this with his French counterparts, and they're talking about oysters. It's like the wine thing again. They will talk about it, and after a while you think, why actually eat them? Why not just spend the rest of your life talking about it? This is the oyster equivalent of that, fruit moment, and that just drives me up the wall. I like oysters. I'd like to eat some.
Can you just get that customer from this one of them?
So the Romans were doing the oysters. Romans seem to do everything around.
The object of the exercise is to get some oysters and eat them.
The
And I'm
object of the
starving.
exercise is to try to understand the culture of what's going on here.
Why don't we talk about it over lunch? I've been up for nearly 9 hours and I'm starving, and you've got a box of oysters that I love oysters. I'd love to eat them.
Well, I'd love you to take this box and clean them yourself.
Pass them up.
OK, you have them, mate.
This is a wine programme, isn't it? We're not turning into foodies. We're going to end up with out-of-focus shots of oysters in a bucket if we're not careful. Oz, lunch?
I'm now in the middle of a really interesting chat about the regeneration of the oyster beds in 1970 when they got enfeebled from Japan. Does that...
No, Marvellous, carry on.
It's worse than I thought. I appear to have lost half a stone since this morning. While I waste away, the bored cameraman seizes the chance to take some arty close-ups featuring out-of-focus oysters. But finally, the arrogant frog triumphs over the pedantic Rosbif, and the dining experience begins.
Jean-Claude, first, can you give us some wine? We want to see what goes with oysters. I think it's really difficult, oysters and wine. Give us something to start with.
So let's go with the easy way. A Sauvignon, dry, crisp.
Sauvignon.
With
You know
acidity.
Sauvignon, don't you? The
I've
sharp
heard of
one.
it,
The,
yes.
the grassy one, the sharp one, the lean one. Let's have that.
Right.
OK?
Quiet, please. This is a wine moment. Here is my French oyster.
Oysters are hard to match with wine because they're so salty and iodine-y. You're best off going for simple, dry, neutral wines, frankly, without too much flavour of their own. Muscadet is the most famous example, and it'll only cost £5.
Nice.
Next, a much more floral, honeyed wine. If James has any sense of taste at all, he'll find that that doesn't suit the oyster one bit.
The oyster's too salty.
Jean-Claude has brought along 6 or 7 local wines. Surely one of them will be right.
It's less flavoursome, but it's got more high notes. Oh, sorry, I finished it off. You'll have to... excuse me.
But then the market for it.
That was a very good one. Crispy, though. Almost very slightly two-stroke lawnmower engine. This is brilliant. I mean, I wholly recommend this to our viewers. Standing around in a shed, stuffing your face with oysters, and drinking some bloke's white wine. Silence, please.
Right. By this point, they think I'm a complete fool. But now hear this.
Terrific. They compete very slightly in your mouth. The oyster, you think, oh, that's a bit salty, and you put the wine and you think, oh, that might be a bit sharp. No, it's nice. It resolves. It's like, well, I was going to make a musical analogy, but that will...
Go on, make another one.
No, it's just, it's like counterpoint. You see, in the classical era, music it essentially works vertically as a series of harmonies going that way, but in the Baroque era, it works as a series of melodies. Somebody said, I can't remember who it was, Baroque music is as fatuous as several people talking at the same time, but it isn't, because there is tension in the music going horizontally, but it resolves at the cadences, and that's exactly what happens with that. You think, ooh, oyster, ooh, wine. No, it's nice.
You can make some sensationally intelligent comments occasionally.
I can't believe I'm... Sorry, I'm going to have to go away for a minute. I've turned into a pond.
Anyway, our ideal wine for oysters can be had for well under a tenner, and that is a wine result.
I mean, the thing about James is that he's so determined to sort of behave like a sort of barroom lout all the time and stand there, you know, pushing his chin out and pouring wine down his throat, that it's a bit difficult sometimes to work out whether he's learned anything at all. But he has, because he has moments of lucidity in the middle of his bombast when he suddenly comes out with some really good remarks about wine, and he really shows he has understood some of the sentiments, some of the emotions that we're trying to talk about, some of the culture of wine that I'm trying to sort of surround him with.
God, I think I ate too many oysters. I need something more red-blooded. So we're going inland to Béziers, beautiful medieval town, and important for wine too.
And it's twinned with Stockport, fact fans.
Despite appearances, this is still France, not Spain. Every year, the annual bullfighting festival turns the town into one great street party. This is the perfect location for our next wine and food matching experiment. Bring on the main course. This isn't rocket science, but full-bodied, hearty reds do go really well with beef. In the south, that means wines like Coteau du Languedoc or Minervois. They're widely available in the UK for well under a tenner. But why not experiment? Any of the local reds will do.
Wait for it. Bull. Not bull. Good, actually.
Excellent.
Very good. Très bon. Oh, just, That's very good flavour of the bull. Nice. As usual. Good, a nice, good quality wine with a nice piece of... It's so easy, this. I like to think of wine as a drink that I can drink to enjoy, like beer or a cup of tea even. And on that basis, if I take a wine like this one that is nice on its own, I drank this on its own first, it was very nice. I ate that on its own, that piece of beef, it was very nice. If you put them together, the result is even better.
I've been sniffing and spitting wine all morning, but not actually swallowed a drop. I need a drink. If I'm ever going to catch up with James's intake today, I'm going to have to dump him and find a bar. Sharpish. Damn, he's found me.
I'm seriously thirsty, I don't know about you. Deux verres de rosé, s'il vous plaît. This is my first glass of wine of the day. I mean, it's going straight to the spot. Well, I'm not surprised. Look at him. I mean, he's actually on his 15th or something. This is my first.
I'm enjoying myself.
Enjoy yourself, James.
I'm very interested in wine. I love wine. It's great.
This is the Ousteau de Beaumanière. It might look like a Provençal farmhouse, but it's a gastronomic institution with 2 Michelin stars. It's also a favourite hangout of the rich and famous.
Apparently, Hugh and Jemima are having lunch here today. Whoever they are.
The restaurant is home to France's champion dessert chef, and that's why we're here for the 3rd course of our wine and food experiment.
Great, we'll find out what goes with spotted dick.
It's a privilege to be allowed in such a renowned kitchen. I just hope James appreciates that and is paying attention. Don't forget, I'll soon be challenging him to cook us a meal and match it with the right wine, so this is a great chance for him to learn from the experts.
If you can distract this bloke, I can probably get one of the... No, I can't. And he's looking. Bonjour.
Yes, you have some kind of ritual. You try which one.
You're eating this.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I'm not.
You are. You've been eating something.
I haven't eaten anything. Seriously, get one.
Well, me? You got yours. You get your own.
I've had one. It's great. Do you want me to get you one?
You were eating, weren't you?
I was. Those are
You
really
came
nice.
in with a look like a little boy being caught behind the bike shed.
Do you want one? Quick. Qu'est-ce que c'est, monsieur?
Good. Very nice. What?
These 2 sweet wines are made from muscat grapes. One's from the Rhone Valley, one's from Corsica. This visit is about matching sweet wine with dessert. So, champion chef, do your stuff. If you don't fancy a complicated pudding, you can simply have a glass of dessert wine on its own. Wines from the Muscat grape are particularly rich and fruity. Muscat de Rivesaltes, Muscat de Frontignan, Muscat de Beaume de Venise, they're all good. Or you could try ultra sweet Sauterne with blue cheese, a brilliant match.
Can I try? No, I mean, can I try making one? Right.
Well, this one next to you, so you
I would like this one there for reference.
Okay.
How is this actually going to teach me anything about wine and wine drinking?
It's involving you in the whole culture of wine and food. I mean, this is actually the making of a piece of food. Hopefully, it's quite exciting and quite challenging because, especially in the French culture, wine always seems to go with food. In England, it often doesn't. In England or in Britain, we often just drink wine because we feel like a drink. But in France, it always seems to end up going with food. So you've got a chance now of showing how.
I quite like the English way.
We can have to do it fast, Jade, as your ice cream is just melting on the plate.
Yeah, I know. Well, that was your fault for
That'd be nice.
talking to me.
It's stressing you, doesn't it?
So which wine is which? This is. That's the Muscat.
Yeah.
This is the other one.
Muscat.
There's a Muscat as well. Let's try that. Far too sweet for my liking. Which bit should I try
have
this?
a mouthful of this and then have a mouthful of that and see whether it's still too sweet.
It's going to fall apart. It's too sweet for my taste, but it's very good. And that still tastes very sweet. I would like to put that in my mouth and then have one of those crispy dry wines to go in and punch the dessert in the guts.
No point in having dry white wines with any sort of dessert, and there's no point in having dry red wines with any sort of dessert.
I think we should try that with the dry wine. I'm interested to see.
So if you like to have the red wine,
Qu'est-ce que c'est?
that's a vin des Baumes.
It's a local red wine.
Local red wine.
Have a swig of that, then have a mouthful of this, and then see what it tastes like.
Right, here we are about to demolish one of the great conceits of wine drinkers, which is that you need a sweet wine to go with the sweet pudding thing. And I shall now demonstrate. That tastes shit, doesn't it?
Absolutely right. You can't have a dry red wine with pudding. You can't have a dry white wine with pudding. You've got to make the wine sweeter than the pudding.
That's remarkable. That really made that taste revolting. Excellent. That's a wine fact. I'm going for lunch.
So, that was a victory for TV's Oz Clarke. And whilst reeling from the defeat, I rather stupidly asked him about his former career.
So when you were an actor, were you a real actor or were you one of those actor types who talked about being an actor but actually worked in a pub?
No, I was a real actor. I mean, I was always in work. I mean, I was never out of work. It was exhausting. I did real stuff. I worked at the Old Vic.
I know what that is.
Yeah, fantastic theatre. I worked at Drury Lane, worked at the National Theatre, worked at the Royal Shakespeare Company, all those, you heard of those? I did Superman. I was in the first Superman. I played the first person that Superman ever arrested. Christopher Reeve, I mean, he was a really nice guy. We used to chat a lot because everything took so long. My next film, I was in Who Dares Wins. I was the customs man. And it was absolutely fantastic. And the director said to me, now go to the window, look after him with a thoughtful look. And I went to the window, and I kept saying, don't overact this, don't overact, don't just look at him, just look, just think, just look. Michael Crawford did a show with him. He sang these songs that are like, some of us belong to the stars, and that is where I'm going.
Oh, God.
We've been through the menu, and I hope James has learned that there are some wine and food rules it's worth sticking to. But it's also good to experiment. It's nearly time for him to take up my challenge, but first, I'm going to introduce him to one of my favourite French dishes.
I'm going to take you to see a fantastic French girl called Irene. I've known her for years. I think she's everything that's good about French girls, and I think you're going to love her.
We're heading for the rocky Pic-Saint-Loup region, 12 miles inland from Montpellier, where my old friend Irene Tolleré runs a small vineyard.
Irene's one of those girls. She sort of gets underneath your skin, and I think it's the same with all of us British blokes. We all sort of We've never quite stopped fancying her. Not quite.
That's a super car.
Is it?
Yeah, beautiful.
Right, best behaviour.
Irene,
I'm done.
how do you do?
How do you do? I like your at very much.
Yeah.
Irene's family have been making wine since 1632, but she's nothing if not a modernist. She produces wines like this super fresh 2005 rosé, Rire et Sourire, laughter and smiles.
It does smell very fruity.
It's good, that.
That's the rocks.
The rocks.
The rocks. They bring everything is more fruity in the Pic Saint-Loup. The apricots that we grow, the grapes that we grow, and so the wines, they really have this fruity characteristic here. It's the rocks of the Pic Saint-Loup.
This is the great struggle of the vine against the rocks
Yeah.
in the territory.
Yeah.
I've got this same feeling again. You can almost taste the rocky dryness in the wine.
I think there's a slight hint of rosehip.
Could well be.
Well done, me.
James, what I like is that I like cars, and I think that there are a lot of parallels between wine and cars, funnily enough, because wine talk can be very boring, as a car talk can be boring. And it's nice to meet somebody who is so knowledgeable on cars and get him to say, yes, that's true, car talk can be boring. So I think I'm enjoying myself tremendously.
Me too.
Four-wheel drive, it's very impressive because you don't have you are in contact with the air, and you can move a lot like that, but it's not complicated.
So we're going to go down this way.
James, I mean, the urbanite James, even to see him doing this sort of rustic stuff is a bit bizarre. And I think that the tractor would look an awful lot better without James on it, to be honest.
Despite James almost knocking down half her vines, the lovely Irene is letting us pitch camp on her land tonight. It's a fantastic location to test James's wine and food matching skills. I've asked Irene to join us for dinner, but she doesn't know we're eating on the campsite. James, however, assures me he's picked the perfect menu and also the wine to match. Apparently, we're in for a feast.
Right, what I'm going to cook is traditional fried spam with baked beans combined with a certain amount of chilli flavouring to give it some high notes and a bit of brown sauce, tiny bit of olive oil. My thinking is that spam is quite salty, but beans actually are quite sugary. You may not realise this, but baked beans have quite a bit of sugar in them, and that makes it a very rich, very dense, very hearty meal. It's very close eating, as the foodies would say. So I'm suspecting that the crisp white will go quite well with it. There, the end of the block of spam is curved because of the tin, so remove those first because they are aesthetically not pleasing. I'm hoping Irene will like this. I'm sure she'll eat it, and she'll make a show of enjoying it. And then if she's going to be sick, she'll go off and do it quietly elsewhere so as not to embarrass us. Yeah, she's a well-mannered sort of person. I'm sure that's exactly what she'd do. It's what I would do.
She really is thinking we're going to take her to some fantastic restaurant in Montpellier. And that's the one thing that's worrying me, that she will be so disappointed when she actually realises that she's at Chez James May tonight for dinner. I think she's a game girl. I think she'll go for it, but that's the risk. Look at that.
Yeah.
Wow. You look fantastic.
very much.
I
You
haven't
don't
changed,
look-
but
Yeah.
Right, let's go to dinner.
Let's go to have dinner.
Yeah.
Where?
Behind me. Dinner. With two Englishmen.
Oh, that's fantastic. And with the sun setting on the Pic Saint-Loup.
We wanted to give you the best
Oh, yeah.
in the English manner.
Oh.
James? Irene is looking absolutely stunning.
Bonsoir, madame.
Bonsoir, James. What is that? Okay, the thing is romantic. However, I have a question about what I'm going to eat.
Spam avec le beans.
What is spam?
Spam is a high-quality meat product.
And you eat that every day?
No, it's a special treat.
Go.
Savour the high notes of the... You know, the spam is cooked to perfection so that the edges of the pieces of spam are quite crisp. They're quite dry, but the centre is still like a foie gras. It's very soft, it's very full of flavour. It's something to dwell upon very slightly. It's like a plateau of taste before you achieve a climax of the taste buds and, you know, the olfactory senses and all those things. But now, please tell me if this complements it or spoils the spam and bean experience for you. The local white wine. Is it good?
I think that the white wine with the freshness and the crispness helps, as you say, create a flow with the spam and beans. So I think it's a good combination.
Exactly. I knew it. You don't agree?
No, I don't. I mean, I think actually the spam and beans is rather good. I think this white wine is flat and dull, and everyone's been far too polite about it. But amazingly, it tastes better because of the spam and beans. So what the spam and beans has done is actually improve the wine. I don't think the wine's good. I think the wine is dull and flat and slightly oxidised.
So we
But-
have our answer. With spam and beans, take any crap white wine and it will be fantastic.
I think essentially I got that right. This wine, which is local to here, not yours, is a Coteau de Languedoc,
Yeah.
is the right white wine for
Yeah.
spam and beans. That is a wine fact.
And I must admit, I'm quite surprised because I love England and I've went repeatedly to England and I had never tasted spam and beans before.
You weren't mixing with the right people.
Yeah, obviously.
For more information and Oz's food and wine matching tips, go to bbc.co.uk/food.
Next week, I'm tested in a blind tasting.
Sanso. No.
I get spooked by some mystic winemakers.
My honest belief is that this is paganism and I will be struck down at any second.
And it's me who ends up feeling the worse for wear.